Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. On this episode, we are not going to be cooking from a book, and I will try to give you all of the measurements because this is a family recipe from my husband's family for pecan pie. This is a standard pecan pie, no extra additions, just plain old pecan pie, but it turns out well every time, and everybody we know uses this recipe from that originally we got from his grandmother, and she doesn't remember where she got it from. So that's what we're going to do today. And I already have in my bowl 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm using salted because that's what I have out on the counter, and this should be soft. And 2 tablespoons of flour. Now I'm going to use a fork to kind of combine these before I add anything to it. Now, I have to say, this recipe does not include a lot of instructions, so I have sort of come up with a method myself, mostly, because what I have is this. My husband got the recipe from, I think, his father, who got it from his grandmother, and he just sort of scribbled it down. And it's on the back of a printout, and we have to find it every year every time we want to make the pie. So, all right, so I'm just going to try to get this as incorporated as I can, because that flour will help you help the pie to set and be less runny, and I want it to go throughout the pie. And the fork just is a lot more sturdy than a whisk. I'm gonna get all of it off of here with a whisk. There we go. And now to this, I'm gonna add 3 whole eggs. They are not at room temperature. They just came out of my refrigerator. There's no indication that they should be at room temperature. They just are. Eggs, 3 eggs. Large eggs, probably. It just says 3 eggs. I just always use large. And I'm just going to start to get this all incorporated, and it won't come together perfectly at this point, but that is fine. And then I'm going to add a cup of light brown sugar. Nothing too fancy here. We're just gonna get it all combined. And with this whisk, I'm trying to get that butter and flour mixture sort of better combined throughout. You could probably use a mixer for this. I just never have. It's not that hard. All right. It's okay if you have some little bits of butter and flour mixture, it's fine. Here I have 1 cup of light corn syrup, and I love these plungers type measuring cups for corn syrup and honey and peanut butter and sour cream and things like that. All right, and the last thing I need to add to this before I actually add my pecans is some vanilla. I need to go find the lid eventually. But I need a teaspoon of vanilla, and I almost always use this Mexican vanilla that I get at Pecans. My assistant has retrieved the lid for me. And some salt. Now I used salted butter, but really my salt is not all that salty, so it doesn't really matter. So that's it was a teaspoon of vanilla and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And just get that all mixed up. And that is the base of your pie. Now, I need to go get a rubber spatula. Give me 1 second. So the only other thing that I need to add to this is some chopped pecans. You can do whatever you like in regards to the pecans, but in my opinion, the pie cuts so much nicer when you have a relatively fine chop on the pecans. It doesn't look as pretty. I think I saw someone talking about how it kind of looked like ground beef, and it was really hard to get a very pretty picture of her pecan pie because the chopped pecans just don't look so pretty. But practically, I prefer chopped pecans. And I've talked about how we use a nut chopper. This is what ours looks like. This is our new one. Our old one still worked, but we had the lid got trapped in against the heating element in the dishwasher, and it kind of melted. So we were down to one lid, but I like this one a lot, actually. And you can chop it fine or coarse depending on which way you turn the crank. Although I don't see a huge difference in them, honestly. So I don't really bother to care much. They're all relatively fine. And it has measurements here. And so we're gonna add 1 cup of chopped pecans, and I measure that after it's been chopped. And there you go. They just go in like that. And get them stirred in to the rest of your pie mixture. There we go. I'm gonna clean up just a little bit, and then I'll fill the pie crusts and talk to you about how we bake this. So I have my oven preheated at 350 non-convection, and I have 2 regular pre-made pie crusts, and I feel perfectly fine about doing that because this is what Grandma does. She has pre-made pie crusts, and she makes them in the thinner pies, and I prefer them that way. You can make 1 deep dish pie with this, or 2 of these thinner pies, and I think the ratio works better with the thinner pies. So while I could have made a pie crust and put it in my my pretty pie dish and baked 1 pie, we're gonna bake 2 using the store-bought pie crusts. And I've got them on a baking tray, just so if anything kind of overflows, it will be fine. And also it's easier to take it in and out of the oven that way, because those tins can get kind of wobbly. And I'm just going to split this roughly evenly between these pie crusts. And you can see one of them's kind of broken. That will be fine. Nobody's gonna care if their crust is a little bit broken. So that is, roughly evenly distributed between 2. You can be a little bit more precise if you want to. Grandma wouldn't do that. So there we go. I'm gonna there we go. Yes, it has raw eggs in it. I don't care. I'm gonna put these in the oven, sort of in the middle of the oven, and they're gonna cook at 350 for 15 minutes. And then we're gonna turn the oven down to 300 degrees and cook them for about 45 minutes. And when they come out, I'm gonna show you what they look like, because it is important that you not over bake these. Slightly under baking is okay, but over baking, it'll burn more, it'll be drier, it won't be as good. But I'm gonna show you what you're looking for when they come out of the oven after about an hour. So that's 15 minutes at 350 and then 45 minutes at 300. So we'll be back in about an hour. Okay, so my pies have just come out of the oven. It's actually been a little bit less than 45 minutes, but you see how they kind of wobble a little bit in the middle when you move them. It's hard to show that on the camera, but they're a little wobbly. So they're not overcooked, but they're just perfect. So I'm gonna take them out and let them cool, and then we can enjoy them. I would say a deep dish pie might take longer to bake. I would definitely do 15 minutes at 350, not 450, and then finish it at 300 until it is done. All right, we'll let you know how they taste. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you've watched me make my husband's grandmother's pecan pie, a family recipe that we make every year around the holidays. And these kids have had it before, but they're going to taste it for you. I wanted to show you though that this is still warm a little bit from the oven, not hot though. You want to wait till it cools down to cut it. But you can see perhaps that there is a layer of filling, and then the pecans sort of form a second layer on top, which is why I prefer a thinner crust here, because you get sort of a thinner layer of the filling versus a really thick layer of filling and then like a thin layer of pecans on top. This is sort of a better ratio for me. So they're gonna give it a try.
What is in there anyway?
What?
Pecan.
It's pecan pie. It's sweet.
Delicious.
Act like you had it before.
I haven't.
You have.
Yes, you have.
Try it. I have taught them to use silverware, I swear. All right, so what do you think, Annabelle?
I like pecan pie.
You like it? It's good. This is your favorite type of pecan pie, isn't it? You don't like it. She doesn't like it when there's things added like chocolate or anything like that. She doesn't like it when it's super thick. She does like whipped cream, so she would like that on top. And maybe also ice cream. Vanilla ice cream on top would be great, especially when it's warm. No, you don't want ice cream? So she prefers chocolate ice cream. They both really like crust, even though this is not homemade crust. It is still a good crust. And I like this recipe because, as you can tell, it's very, not yours. It is very easy to put together, all in one bowl, not difficult measurements, nothing that you have to do separate steps for. And you can use store-bought pie crusts and you don't have to blind bake them. That's always a plus for me. So I'm going to cover this one in aluminum foil after my husband and I both have a piece. And this will keep for, a few days on the counter. And then this one I'm probably going to cover in plastic wrap and then aluminum foil and put it in the freezer so we can have it again another time. So we'll have two pecan pies, the pecan chewy pie and then this pie. Oh, that's a good thing. Remember the pecan chewy pie that we made? The other pecan pie that we made recently that you tried on camera? Mm-hmm. Do you prefer this one or that one?
The other one.
You prefer the other one? Or you prefer this one? So
I want
split decision here. I think he is maybe not going to finish his except for the crust. So I might get another piece. We'll see. Anyway, if you enjoyed watching me make this and watching them taste it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and come back and watch us make something else next week.
Me?
What?
What? Watching me?
Yeah, if they liked watching you taste it.
They did?
Did they? I don't know. We'll see.
Comment what you think. So here.